You are listening to the Atlanta Real Estate Forum radio show, all about real estate edition, shining a light on the movers and shakers in the real estate industry, the home builders, developers, realtors, and suppliers making it all happen.
Good morning and welcome back to Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio's All About Real Estate edition. I'm your host, Carol Morgan, and I'd like to give a special shout out and thanks to our 2022 show sponsor, New American Funding. Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio is made possible thanks to them, and we owe them a big thanks. Today's guest I'm very excited about. He is our first guest in our new Legends of Real Estate series. In many ways, he needs no introduction at all. John Wieland has been building homes in Atlanta for 50 years. It actually might be 52 years this year. He's responsible for training much of the talent that works in the market today, and he has won probably more awards for customer satisfaction and professionalism than any other Atlanta builder. A warm welcome to John Wieland, CEO of the JW Collection. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you, Carol. It's great to be with you. Makes for a wonderful time.
Looking forward to it. Well, let's just dive in. What year did you start, building houses in Atlanta? And what did home building look like back in the day?
I hate to admit, but it was like 1971. And it was such a different industry. I mean, just no comparison.
No comparison. Well, and I think I read somewhere that you started building, when you started your company, you were operating out of a Volkswagen Beatle?
Well, I had a hammer and a credit card to get the hammer. And I had my Volkswagen, and it was a convertible. So that was very handy. You get to put the top down, and I could carry building materials, and I even was able to carry full sheets of plywood.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it took skill, and I put 2x4s in the back seat underneath the front seat, and then laid the plywood on the 2x4s. Not too many sheets at a time.
Oh my goodness, that's a whole system that you had worked out of just loading your car to make that happen. Well, how many homes did you build that first year, and what did they look like?
Well, the first year we actually went to closing on 12 homes. And I think we had 6 under construction at the end of the year. And that was the era of split foyers. And so you would come in on a mid-level, and then you could go up 7 steps to, you come in the front door on the mid-level and come up 7 steps to the kitchen, the family room, and go down 7 steps to a bonus room in the garage. And then if you're on the kitchen level, you would go up another 7 steps and you would be on the bedroom level.
Well, those were popular houses that I think they had didn't they afford a lot of square footage and very little wasted space?
Yeah, well, it's a very efficient home. I don't think it's built anymore, but the amazing thing about it was that we sold those homes for right around $30,000.
Gosh, that's crazy.
That included a lot and indoor plumbing.
Wow.
So, and now you can't discuss anything for $30,000.
No, I don't even think you can buy a new car for $30,000 anymore. So.
No, I remember, my first lot I bought from Cousins Properties, and it was $5,000.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's interesting.
but
It's funny to see how much it's changed.
well, it's a big problem today, in my opinion, in housing is affordability. And how do people get on that first rung of the ladder? And that is home equity is the primary source of wealth for most American families. And you got to get started.
Yeah.
And so we need small, affordable homes that aren't an hour and a half from where you work. And that's something we're starting to focus on.
Oh, well, I want to hear more about that. But first, I kind of have a burning question is, what inspired you to start building homes, or who inspired you to start building homes?
To be a home builder?
Yeah.
Well, unemployment. I was in the building materials business with my business school roommate. And we thought we were going to be Home Depot, but it didn't work out. And after it didn't work out, it turned out that in our partnership, my partner was a 75% partner and I was a 25% partner. So he stayed with the business and I needed to do something else. And being young with 2 children and unemployed is a bad thing. So I looked for an alternative and made a list. And one of the lists was, since I was in building materials, maybe I could build a house. So I started on that project and it led to 30,000 homes over 50 years.
A lot of houses, especially, starting with just 12 and then, building up to where you are. 30,000 homes is pretty impressive. And obviously you've seen a lot of changes.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, you're very welcome. So from 12 homes to 30,000 homes, you've seen some massive changes in the industry. Talk a little bit about the changes you've seen over the years.
I'm sorry, talk a little bit about
the changes in home building over the years?
Well, you go back to 1971, and I was a college graduate and actually a business school graduate. And I would go to a home builders meeting and I was the exception because most people in the home building business at that point in time had come up through the do-it-yourself program and had learned on the job how to build, and then had been able to get a loan or go out on their own. And it was a very small entrepreneurial kind of thing. And now we have corporations building 60,000 homes a year. And I think I would make the argument that there's something special about a small builder who can listen directly to the customer and make special adjustments to make that house special for the individual buyer, and that we've lost something as home building has grown and become commercialized, and now we have large public corporations doing it. Of course, that's a selfish position on my part.
Well, I think there's a lot of people out there that would agree with you on that point. So, I think back and, you and I have known each other for a long time. And I remember your 101 home sales promotion in 2009 during the downturn. You traveled all over the country in your RV and you lived in model homes. And you said you were going to do that until you sold 101 of them. It was very clever and caught a lot of people's attention. But, again, you think of this 50-year time span from when you built your first home in 1971 to today, 2022, and just all the changes in marketing. I mean, when you started out, there was no internet. Just talk a little bit about the difference in how we market homes and your feelings on that from over 50 years.
Well, I would say one thing that is pretty fundamental today that was very new 50 years ago, and then we helped pioneer in Atlanta, is model homes and design centers, so that people could come in and pick out the pieces they wanted for their dream home. And we're proud of our early work in that. And I appreciate your mentioning our awards. We've got a lot of glass stacked around here. And it's been just so much fun over so many years to be a builder and to meet people's needs. But if I could, I'd like to say a few words about my 101 tour.
Absolutely.
Well, you're nice to mention it since you're the pro in marketing, and I'm glad it caught your attention. And fundamentally, the business went to pretty near zero, as you'll know, in the Great Recession. Atlanta peaked out in, I think it was 2006, at 60,000 building permits, and then hit the bottom in 2009 at 6,000 building permits. So you can prepare for a 10% or 20% shrinkage in your business, but when your business shrinks 90%, you can't prepare for that. So we were having a brainstorming session on what we could do to draw attention to the fact that we had great homes finished, available, ready to move in. And we came up with some fairly wild ideas. One was to build a stand on Peachtree Street, about 20 feet in the air, and I was going to live on this stand until we sold 101 homes. And it was pointed out to me that would probably be a very unhappy thing. And so what else could we do? And we had a Winnebago that we used for sales promotions, and we called it the Weebago. And I thought, well, maybe I could visit my five cities in which I built, of course, Atlanta, and then Charlotte, Raleigh, Nashville, and Charleston. And work to promote my neighborhoods in each of those cities, and until we sold 100 homes. And then some smart marketing person that was sitting in said, you don't want to do that. You want to do it until you sell 101. 100 is, and that's an even number. That's not very catchy. People aren't going to remember that. But if you go to 101, and then we started building out the concept. And the concept was that I would take a mattress from home, which I did. And we had on this Winnebago, it comes with a refrigerator and a microwave and those kinds of things. So I stocked up on Stouffer's, ready to eat dinners. And we had a really great individual who ran a Caterpillar tractor for us, who volunteered to go on tour with me. So we would pull into one of our cities, and one of our builders or staff members, company members, would pick up Bobby and take him to a motel. And then I would drag my mattress into an unsold home. And then I had 2 suitcases, small ones. And one of them had sheets and a pillow and a light blanket. And then the other had a change of clothes and a toothbrush and a book or something like that, probably. And I'd start making, I'd make myself at home. Usually I pick the owner's bedroom. I need the bathroom close by. I want to have a little space to spread out. And it got to be just a ton of fun. We would always have an event, my first night in the city for all of our company members, a cookout, and sort of a pep rally. But, and we worked through our marketing representatives to get some press coverage and morning talk shows and those kinds of things. And the company members in the individual cities would provide essentials in the house, like coffee for the morning, or reveille in the morning, and one night I after an evening meeting with all my people, I went back to the house I was sleeping in, and I had put my mattress on the floor, and I was getting ready to make my bed out of my suitcase, and I saw that my bed was already made. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know whether to be happy or scared or what's going on. And so at the office, this is Charleston, the next day, I said, who made my bed? And this staff member said, well, I gotta admit, I did. I just couldn't help myself. And I saw that mattress, and I knew what was in the suitcase, and so well, I appreciate that very much. But we had little replicas of our Winnebago, and so every time I sold a home, and they're little, well, they're about, I don't know, 9 inches long, something like that. And we had wrapped the Winnebago in promotional, the stickies like the MARTA buses. And so every time I sold a home, I would write the number on the home, and then I would write a note to the buyer. So it would be like number 56 to Todd and Eloise, thank you very well. I guess the way I went is to Todd and Eloise, thank you for being number 56.
Yeah.
And then I'd sign my name, and then we would present it to them. So, but it took about 60 days. I took Easter off. But other than that, it was on the floor, and I had a great time.
That's amazing promotion. And, so many aspects of great marketing in that, the event and the RV and tying the Winnebago into the little leave behind gift, for your new homeowners. And then, rallying the troops and having that camaraderie in each city. And, those are all things that, worked then and work now too.
I appreciate that. I got two more vignettes I got to share. So,
okay.
And so one is, we parked the Winnebago, but before we started the tour, I went to a little moped shop in Buckhead and bought myself a moped. Because that I could tour the neighborhood. And I couldn't do it in the big RV. So I would ride around the neighborhood. This is springtime. And sometimes we would have events for the neighborhood and or weekend promotions. And the other was that I did a very nice interview with an editor for Builder magazine and suggested that, maybe the NAHB could get the CEOs of the top 100 builders in the country, and we were in that category at that time, and have a one-night sleep in and get some national promotion for it. And she said, it will never happen. And so I gave up that promotional idea.
Well,
but then the final one, though, is a woman in Chicago had a syndicated column, picked it up, and the headline in her column said, "Builder sleeps around to sell homes." And I went to high school in Chicago, and a Chicago buddy tore out the article, sent it to me, and asked me if my wife knew.
Oh, that is hilarious. We'll talk about fun marketing, though. You made it fun, and the editors had a good time with it, and you achieved your goal, and that's what it's all about. Well, you've lived through several of these downturns and, sold your way out of them. Obviously, there's probably a lot of builders that wish they had those 101 homes today to sell, because they would sell like hotcakes. But, talk a little bit about today's crazy pandemic and, and where you think it's going. And, we all panicked in March of 2020 when it all started. And because we were all thinking it was going to be a replica of, 2007, 8, 9. And thank goodness it wasn't. But, talk a little bit about the differences between that downturn and what we're experiencing now.
Right, Carol, I think that what I didn't realize, the industry didn't realize, is that in the Great Recession, we just lost so much of our capacity to build. And my bank said I didn't need to build any more homes for at least a little while. And even the big builders were consolidating and being very cautious. Mm-hmm. And we lost skilled trade people. We lost a whole tier of junior management in home builders, home building companies. And so then when building came back, we really weren't prepared for it. We didn't have the resources.
Right.
And that has caused, of course, an inflationary cycle in the cost of housing.
Right.
And I think that, one of the things, as you said, when the pandemic started, we all pulled in our horns, and I'm not going to sell my home because I don't know who's going to be walking through my home, and I don't want that. And I'm not going to go look for a home because I don't know, who's been in that home before me, and everything slowed down. And then when people started feeling better, there was a shortage of houses in huge proportions, and people started bidding homes up, and so much conversation about supply channels and so much volatility in lumber markets and floods in British Columbia and fires in California. But I think that's going to even out, and I think we're starting to see it today. And people ask me, are prices going down? When things even out, you're shaking your head.
I think we'd love to see prices go down, but I don't know that that's realistic.
No, I don't think it is. So I think we need to think of more innovative ways to get people into housing.
Correct.
So they can get on that first rung of the ladder.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree. Yeah. Well, part of your legacy is really your successful training program. I look around Atlanta, and on any typical day, you can find 10 division presidents that got their start with you. What set your program apart, and how did it prepare these key industry players for the jobs that they hold today?
You're very nice. I'm really proud of the group of people who worked for me over the years, and the group that make up the JW collection today. So I think our fundamental key to success began at our selection process. And so I've always believed in testing and interviewing and waiting to find the exceptional people. And if you start with exceptional people and who love housing, and I think that's a requisite. I think housing is one of those great things, and I know you feel the same way, where you develop an emotional, almost spiritual attachment to, this is so great. And we're helping people with one of the fundamental needs in their lives, a great place to live. And we had talented people, and then we had, formalized training, and we actually had a program called ACT, A-C-T, Accelerated Corporate Training. So anybody that joined the company, no matter what they did, had to go through ACT, and we brought people in from the Southeast, and it was the launching pad to a more detailed training program. But it was something we believed in. Started out with great people, and they're out there being great today.
Absolutely, they are. Yeah. I mean, and that's, to me, that's part of your legacy. It's a living legacy of all these people that you have trained. Well, for, I guess, listeners who are thinking about getting into the home building industry, getting started with a career in the industry, what advice do you have for them?
I've always said that the best way to be successful in home building is to identify a portion of the industry that resonates with your own personal sensibilities and values. And as the people who work for me and have worked for me in the past will share, I'm into the details, probably too much into the details. So I like to build homes that are complicated and really, I mean, when we do a plan for the first time, I always walk it. I've got one coming up in 2 weeks, and we try to make it just right. And we try to make sure that we have the exterior touches and the colors, and where other people may be more volume oriented and love the efficiency of the business. And I have one friend, I think he knows where every nail went. And you can't ever fool him about how much the home costs. He knows every detail. And but I think if you're really going to be a success at home building, then and I think it relates to all aspects of the supply, the marketing, especially the realtors. It has to resonate with you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not having fun, then you're in the wrong profession.
I would agree with you. And so would Dr. Seuss. One of my favorite quotes is, "It's fun to have fun, but you have to know how." It's from The Cat in the Hat. And I say it all the time, we all, most of what we do in life is work. We do it 5 days a week. We do it for at least 8 hours a day. To me, it's more of and probably for you as well, more of an immersive experience. It's part of who I am. I might work part of Saturday and part of Sunday, but take Friday off, but get to take care of my clients and get it all done. And it's important to do something that you love and have fun doing it. So, well, this is probably a loaded question. Maybe you have more than one answer to this, but what has been the most rewarding part of your career?
No, that's a great question. I think the most rewarding part of my career is just working with people. And not just the people that receive a paycheck, but the trade contractors, suppliers. We actually have in our conference room, we have plaques for trade contractors and suppliers who have worked for us for 40 or more years,
Wow.
30 or more years, 20 or more years. You got to work at least 10 for us to get a plaque. Less than 10 doesn't count. But because you see such wonderful people at all levels of the industry. And then the process of creation. And there's so many things that you can do in life. I worked for Procter & Gamble in the soap division after business school. And sold a lot of Tide, but it wasn't very personally rewarding. But you really feel, something that gives me great pleasure is driving back in a neighborhood that I finished 20 years ago. And people are caring for their homes, they're caring for their lawns. And sometimes I get these wonderful reactions from my homeowners. I attended an annual homeowner meeting in one of my neighborhoods just this past Tuesday. And somebody came up to me at the end of the meeting and he said, "I wonder if you do me a favor." And I was, ready for like, how about a free screen porch, And he said, "At your convenience, would you stop by and sign my kitchen cabinets?"
Nice.
I assume he means on the inside, not the outside. And I said, actually, I've done that a few times. And I said, sure. And so he gave me his address, and I got that on my list. And that's really cool.
That's really cool, though. So, you say people, but it's that relationship, the relationship with people. Clearly, that's important to you with your 20-year plaques and 10-year plaques and 40-year plaques in your boardroom. That's really cool. Talk a little bit about what you're doing now with the JW collection. And I know early in our interview, you mentioned, making homes more affordable. So talk about, what you're doing with JW collection, and then, any insights to what we can do as an industry to make this more affordable.
Well, that is such a tough question. And, candidly, I've almost been more about unaffordability. We work the high end of the market. The analogy I use, it may not be a perfect one, is they asked Jesse James why he robbed banks. And he said it's because that's where the money is. And so bigger homes, there's more opportunity. But we're very engaged in density now. And because you have to start with the land. Mm-hmm. And the land has become, crazy unaffordable. And, but the good news is, I think, is lifestyles have changed. So that we're not so much about mowing our own yard, and we don't need that half acre or that acre. And we sold a townhome last year for $1,300,000. And I had a good view of Atlanta, I must admit. But very tight. People have learned to live vertically. We think of a big lot now as 50 feet wide. We know how to work on 35 feet wide, and we have a townhome floor plan that is extremely livable at 18 feet wide. And what I'm working on now is actually stacking 2 homes over each other on the same plot of land. Mm-hmm. So that they would each have a 1-car garage, and then one family would own the bonus room in front of the garage and the second floor, and the other family would have to walk 2 flights of stairs, and they would own the 3rd floor. But then you would have the efficiency of using 1 plot of land for 2 homes, and you'd have a home that might be 1,600, a home that might be 1,200 square feet, and they'd each have a 1-car garage. And I think it'd be, especially with the number of singles in the market, and young ones, old ones, that it could be a great way to get people on the housing ladder with great space. And the important thing is to have amenities in the neighborhood so that you can walk, you got a place to throw the football, and you can buy in the city with parks. So we'll see.
Well, it's innovative, and it's clear that, we all must innovate in this industry with land prices going up and development prices going up. And, there's a scarcity of human resources, as well as, building materials skyrocketing. Anything you can do to innovate to, put two homes or 3 homes on that one piece of land is certainly going to help with affordability. So kudos to you on that. We hear a lot in the industry now about diversity. What do you think we can do as an industry to attract more diverse talent?
Well, I think that one thing that I can give you one example from the JW collection, where we have an outstanding individual who started as a trade contractor. Is very bilingual and talented, and moved over and joined us in a learning position. Actually simultaneously went to Georgia State and worked for us.
Wow.
And is now a project manager. And because he is bilingual and multicultural, he's been a great resource to reach out to not only build our trade base, but also to build our company member base. So, but I think that the answer really to your question is it has to be intentional.
Correct.
It's just the diversity that we need, and that is going to make all of us better people and have a more equal, fairer society is just not going to happen unless we make it happen.
Yeah, it's like so many things. I always like to say that a goal without a plan is just a wish. And I think that, so much of life you can.
I like that.
I thought you'd like that one.
Yeah.
So much of life boils down to that, though, right? You've had a plan. You've had a plan for training, and I've heard you say, even though you haven't said it, education. You trained your employees, you educated your employees, you had this opportunity to take a bilingual contractor and turn, him or her into an employee, and again, educate, him while he was in school as well. And that's a key part of it too. But us providing the opportunities is really what opens the door to begin with.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, any final thoughts? We've covered a lot of content today, and I'm gonna, our last question will be how can people get more information on you and the JW collection? But before we get to that, anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
I think I'd like to emphasize how important ownership is, and just getting on that first run. It doesn't need to be new, it doesn't need to be beautiful, it doesn't need to be big. And there's a big emphasis now on single family rental. And, I think it's great for the industry, but I'm not sure that it's great socially. From the standpoint is if you're always renting, you're never going to have equity. And the 401ks today really don't provide enough for all of us to retire the way we want to retire. So I think NAHB has always said, and I've always believed, I know you believe, that housing is the bedrock of America, and that we need to keep housing strong. And most of all, we need to keep ownership strong.
Well, housing is the great American dream and the foundation of so much of our country, and the foundation for wealth. And I think you just summarized that.
Right. Exactly.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today and being our first of our series of Legends of Real Estate here in Atlanta. I'd love for you to give our listeners information on how they can find out more about you, or how they can find out more about the JW collection. What's the best way for them to find that information online?
Well, Carol, you're nice for that opportunity. So We are JWC Atlanta. All you have to do is, go to Google and say JW Collection Atlanta, and you will get right to our website once you get past the paid ads. And the one thing that I would leave as a thought, I've always said that we may not be the right builder for lots of people. But the one thing that will never be true is you'll never be able to drive into one of our neighborhoods and then drive into somebody else's neighborhood nearby and see the same thing. And that our neighborhoods are all unique and all special, and we work with a real desire to create a sense of place, not just build a house and go on to the next house. And I had somebody tell me decades ago that you ought to be able to drive home and look at your house and just feel glad about being home. And we hope that's true for all of our homeowners.
I love that. John, I just want to thank you on behalf of the industry also for your innovation and your leadership and your legacy of 50 plus years. The Atlanta home building market would not be where it is today if it weren't for you and your vision. So thank you for that.
It might be in better shape.
I don't think so.
You're very generous. Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
thank you for what you do in so many ways for the industry beyond denim marketing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And with that, we're going to say that wraps this week's Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio's All About Real Estate edition. I'd like to thank John Wieland for joining me in studio today. And on behalf of our show sponsor, New American Funding, I'm your host, Carol Morgan. If you enjoyed today's show, then please follow Atlanta Real Estate Forum on Facebook. If you are looking for more Metro Atlanta housing news about home builders or developers, then sign up for our newsletter at atlantarealestateforum.com. You are welcome to continue the conversation with us by downloading and subscribing for free to this show on iTunes, Stitcher, or Spotify. And many of our episodes are also available on YouTube. On YouTube, you can click that little notification bell up in the corner so that you never miss an episode. If you're interested in participating on the show, you can contact me, Carol, at denimmarketing.com. Thank you for listening, and I'll look forward to seeing you here again for our next episode.
Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio is made possible by Denim Marketing, the publisher of Atlanta Real Estate Forum, Atlanta's favorite source for real estate and home building news. Denim Marketing is a comfortable fit, like your favorite pair of jeans. Denim Marketing tailors marketing strategies to meet your specific needs and niche. Try them on for size. They will work to create a perfect fit for your company's marketing program. Call them at 770-383-3360 or send an email to info@denimmarketing.com. For more information on Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio or to inquire about being a guest, contact info@atlantarealestateforum.com. Check out the radio show by visiting atlantarealestateforum.com or by listening to the show on your favorite podcast app. And if you enjoyed today's broadcast, we'd sure appreciate a rating and review on iTunes. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next time on Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio.